How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Buddy of mine just said that he is going to wait for Maxwell House that became Maxwell Apartment to become Maxwell Section 8, and that's when he'll drink the coffee. Talking about giving up on America. We're going to rebrand Maxwell Apartment. And you know, they're not saying it's not like I literally did. My first reaction was, is there like a second April Fool's that I don't know about that? It's got to be like an April. It's got one of those rebranding shticks that they don't actually keep. But yes, Kraft Heinz announcing Maxwell House is going to become Maxwell Apartment because fewer and fewer Americans are buying houses, so they're going to go with them. Talk about we're branding down. You've given up on the American dream, and so have we. I mean, you've already given up on good coffee to drink the Maxwell House. You might as well. I mean, add some hot water to it, people, and let's go. Next thing you know, you'll be at the Folgers Crystals, dissolving it in your shaker bottle as you get up from your cardboard box and go to your job at the homeless shelter. What a depressing commentary on America, the Maxwell Apartment. Good gracious. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I got to give Jake Tapper at CNN some credit. He combated. I shouldn't even say combated Hakeem Jeffries. He just asked him a very simple question, and this came on the heels of Chuck Schumer in the Senate. Chuck Schumer tweeted, "Let me be perfectly clear. Undocumented people cannot and will not receive ACA payments," that's Affordable Care Act payments, "for premium tax credits by law, period. This is a lie from Republicans to divert attention from their shutdown. Republicans are refusing to lower health care costs for the American people." Now, this is a three-card Monty. You know what the three-card Monty is. So if you go to baseball games, the Braves do this, where they have a guy you can win. This is how bad of an economy we have right now. You can win $100 in Kroger groceries, and you need it in this economy. But they put a player's card under a Braves cap on the screen, and they twist they shake the hats up, rotate them around, and you got to track it. It goes very fast, and then the crowd can tell you, we think it's under this hat, and oftentimes they're right, and you win $100 of groceries from Kroger. That's the three-card Monty game. You have the street hustler who puts the three cards down, and you got to track where the ace of spades is, and it's always a scam because he typically has the real card up his sleeve. You get it wrong, you think you've tracked it. It's a hustle. It's a scam. It's the three-card Monty. That's what Chuck Schumer is doing with his tweet. Undocumented people cannot and will not receive Affordable Care Act premium tax credits by law, period. Correct. But that's not what this is about. This is about one of the other aspects of what they want is to extend emergency room Medicaid payments so that illegal aliens can go to emergency rooms and get taxpayer paid for health care. And you're like, well, Erickson, if they go to the emergency room, they're going to get taken care of as well. Who puts the bill? The states would foot the bill, which is an incentive for the sanctuary states and cities to not be sanctuary states and cities. If the states have to pay for the illegal immigrants going to the emergency room, they have an incentive to crack down on illegal immigration. And what the Democrats want is for the federal government to pay for the emergency room visits so the sanctuary cities and states don't have to. This is Hakeem Jeffries talking to Jake Tapper, and you can imagine the Democrats in the House of Representatives are somewhat baffled by Hakeem Jeffries' inability to respond to Jake Tapper.
So let me ask you about a provision that the Republicans are talking about quite a bit. I know you want to talk about, and Democrats want to talk about, extending the Obamacare subsidies, which expire at the end of 2025. But they talk about the provisions, and it's right here, subtitle E, and this has to do with the repeal of healthcare subtitle changes, and specifically what it is. How they characterize it is you want to give health insurance to undocumented immigrants. I understand that's not really an accurate depiction, but what it does do is...
It's a lie.
It's a lie, but what you support does bring back funding for emergency Medicaid to hospitals, some of which does pay for undocumented immigrants and people who don't have health insurance. And also there is this provision, and it's not about undocumented immigrants, it's about people with asylum seekers and people with temporary protected status, et cetera, but about their ability to get Medicaid. So they're non-citizens, they're not undocumented, they're not illegal. Why even include that in a bill knowing that they're going to seize right upon that and use that to message?
I would play you what Hakeem Jeffries said after that, but he didn't have an answer for it. He just said it's a distraction. It's not. And to the last part that Jake Tapper said, there's another provision, not about undocumented immigrants. It's about people with asylum seekers and people with temporary protected status, et cetera, but about their ability to get Medicaid. They're not non-citizens. They're non-citizens. They're not undocumented. They're not illegal. Do you know who those people are? They're called alien parolees. Alien parolees. What happens when an illegal immigrant crossed the border during the Biden administration? They processed them at a border checkpoint. They said they had asylum or they were coming here to find their kid or what have you. What happened? The Biden administration processed them. They fingerprinted them, took their name, gave them a phone number, said call and get your court hearing. Now here's a bus ticket somewhere. Those people are called parolees. And under this provision, the Democrats want put back in, those people get health care benefits paid for by the taxpayers. So Jake Tapper is right, although it's a little bit of a rhetorical wordplay here. They're not undocumented because they've been documented at the border. They're not illegal technically because they've been told cross the border but come back for your court hearing. Here's the phone number to call to get it scheduled. But they can't work. They don't have a social security number. They're not resident aliens. They're not supposed to be here. They're here temporarily until they are deported from the country. And Joe Biden and the Democrats gave them health care benefits, and the Democrats are trying to restore it. You have Hakeem Jeffries confronted with that fact. Now, here's Ro Khanna from California, who was on Fox Business.
In terms of health care, the reality is they're just not being honest. The amount of money that actually is going towards people who are undocumented is such a small portion of the Medicaid cuts or the Affordable Care Act, if at all. And so we can argue that point, but the reality that even the vice president would acknowledge, that anyone who looks at the numbers will acknowledge, is 90 to 95% of the funding we're talking about is talking about funding for American citizens.
So in other words, 5 to 10% of the money's funding illegal aliens. The amount of money that actually is going towards people who are undocumented is a small portion. That's what he just said. In other words, it's a portion of what they're doing. And here's Maxine Waters confronted directly about funding health care for illegal aliens.
But aren't Democrats demanding health care for illegal aliens?
That's right. Democrats are demanding health care for everybody.
Demanding health care for everybody, including illegal aliens. They keep saying it's not true, but they're talking about the Affordable Care Act tax premiums. That's not what the Republicans are talking about. The Republicans are talking about the other Medicaid provisions that would take the state burden off sanctuary cities and sanctuary states and place it on the federal government, where the federal government would have to cover those payments. That's in the Democrats' legislation. And as you heard Jake Tapper ask Hakeem Jeffries, why even put that in? And he didn't have an answer for it. He did not have an answer for it. The Democrats are, in fact, giving health care to illegal immigrants. Here was the former chairman of the Democratic Party, Chairman Perez, in 2024 during the Democratic debate.
Documented immigrants pay billions of dollars in taxes, and that's the reality. And what Democrats also said, Chris, which is far different from Republicans, is that if you have a pre-existing condition, you should be able to keep your coverage. Democrats believe that health care should be available, affordable, quality health care should be available to everyone. And thanks to Obama, thanks to LBJ, Medicare and Medicaid, we're 90% of the way there.
Okay. Now, I need to back this up from the beginning because it sounded like he said documented, but he didn't listen to this.
And it's an insurance program, so you have to pay into it. And as you know, immigrants, including undocumented immigrants, pay billions of dollars in taxes.
You got that? Undocumented immigrants, they're in the system. Now, let's go to, it was 2020. Tom Perez, the Democratic National Committee chairman. Now, let's go to the 2020 campaign debate. Savannah Guthrie asking all the Democratic candidates on stage.
And hold them up for a moment. A lot of you have been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
All of them raised their hand. Every single one.
Mayor Buttigieg, why? Mayor Buttigieg, why?
Because our country is healthier when everybody is healthier. And remember, we're talking about something people are given a chance to buy into. In the same way that there are undocumented immigrants in my community who they pay sales taxes, they pay property taxes directly or indirectly. This is not about a handout. This is an insurance program. And we do ourselves no favors by having 11 million undocumented people in our country be unable to access health care. But of course, the real problem is we shouldn't have 11 million undocumented people with no pathway to citizenship.
You got that? That's Pete Buttigieg from 2020. Not only should we give health care to illegal aliens, we should give them American citizenship. That's Pete Buttigieg in 2020. So spare me the idea that the Democrats aren't doing this to give health care to illegal aliens. It's not the only reason, but it certainly is a reason. Here's my friend Kelly Loeffler talking about what this Democratic shutdown is doing.
The Schumer shutdown comes amid a historic economic comeback thanks to President Trump's powerful America First agenda. And we're seeing that small businesses are accessing capital at really record rates that we announced earlier this week. That means Main Street's growing, it's thriving, it's investing and hiring. But that all comes to a stop thanks to the Schumer shutdown. That means about 300 small businesses every week will not get access to critical capital. That's about $200 million a week. That's about 30 veteran-owned small businesses. It's manufacturers. It's everything that this economy was doing to power back after Bidenomics just crushed it, crowded out the private sector, and now Schumer wants to do it again. Democrats want $1.5 trillion to support those that don't want to work. They want to support illegal aliens, and they want to pay for it on the backs of the hardest working Americans, and that includes small business owners.
That's Kelly Loeffler, the head of the Small Business Administration, the former senator from Georgia. She's right. They're essentially trying to get you to pay for health care for people who have no incentive to find a job and for illegal aliens. And they can't be honest about it. I want to play you Scott Jennings and Caitlin Collins on CNN. You heard Jake Tapper point out to Jeffries that actually the Democrats do want to cover health care for illegal aliens. Listen to this exchange.
Can I say one thing, which is that people who are in the country illegally cannot get these subsidies that we're talking about?
Sure they can. No, they can't.
No,
sure
they can't. It's federal law,
who
Scott,
do you think? Who do
Scott,
you think pays when they go to the emergency room? It's the Medicaid
Scott,
emergency program.
Going to the emergency room is not getting an Obamacare subsidy.
You guys are conflating. You guys are conflating these issues. You're conflating these issues.
And you're being dishonest with
the subsidies are a separate issue. The Medicaid program cuts are a different thing.
Right, but I'm talking about subsidies.
Medicaid and the Obamacare stuff are two different issues. And I said the subsidies may get negotiated over time. But what Democrats want to do is roll back what the Republican Medicaid reforms were. They want, look, I don't understand why everybody's so mad. For time immemorial, Democrats have argued that it's good. It's good for illegal immigrants to get Medicaid. Every candidate for president in 2020 raised their hand for it. In the big, beautiful bill debate, they argued it was good policy. I can't believe there's an about-face in the Democratic Party on it today.
Hold on. I got a question for Karen, but Scott, I will say, people who are in the country illegally also can't get Medicaid.
Sure they can.
Law.
Sure they can.
They can't get Medicaid.
They also
Medicare,
can't register to vote. They also can't register to vote, but we just found one in Maryland who was running the Des Moines school system.
Oh, my God.
See, they just want to scream about it, and it's simply not true. And Scott Jennings is smart in telling the truth, and Caitlin Collins is lying to the viewers of CNN. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Eric Erickson here. We're going to hop over to the phones. The phone number is 877-973-7425. By the way, I keep mentioning the show notes and whatnot. If you text the word data, or data as the voice is, data, D-A-T-A, to the number 33777, you get a discount on the paid subscription where you get all the show notes. Because, you know, as the show starts every day, unless Philip's changing dirty diapers, he's sending out all the links to all the stuff I'm going to talk about on the show and then some right on time. So you can follow along with me in the show. We don't do a lot of, I don't do a lot of super in-depth show prep, so I got to give him credit sometimes, maybe more than I should, but he puts the email together because we have a 10:30 call and I with all the team and say, here are the things I think I'm going to talk about. And inevitably, 5 minutes before the show starts, it all goes to hell in a handbasket because they're breaking news. But you get all the links to all the stuff that I am going to talk about and then all the stuff I never even get to. And you stay more informed than anybody else in your family or your friends. So all you have to do is text DATA to 33777. Now, David is calling in. He is currently furloughed. He's got some time on his hands to chat. David, how are you?
I'm great, Eric. I love the show. It took me about 2.5 years to find somebody to fill that hole left when Rush Limbaugh passed away. And once I started listening, I've been a listener ever since.
I
really appreciate what you do. So I am probably one of the few, but there are some of us that are Trump supporters that are in the federal government. I've been there for 20 years that are now furloughed. In the past, we didn't get furloughed at the agency I worked for because we had what they call know your money. So we worked. This time, the decision was made to furlough us. And I'm a little concerned that a broad brush approach to permanent layoffs or permanent firings will catch some of the folks who support the president and his agenda and want to help implement it because at my agency, there are no politicals. It's all acting career people in leadership positions. They're going to be the ones that make the decision on who to fire and hire new people if the decision is made to hire them. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on how we deal with that.
So my guess is there are some exceptions like what you're talking about, but a lot of the agencies where people are going to be disrupted are going to be particularly partisan-oriented public policy goals. And so they're going to shut down those goals and fire, not lay off the staff. And if they then expand those goals later, they will use the Project 2025 database and reach out to those people to let them know that there are openings for work and encourage those people to apply. That's my suggestion. I think so your agency probably, because the setup's going to be protected. The others, not so much. Greetings, conversationalists. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number, 877-973-7425. My apologies to my prior caller. I wanted to talk to him a little longer, and I thought I was in this segment, and that was the short segment, and I didn't even get the ad read, which I got to do in this segment. I'm sorry. It really is one of those days, y'all. It really is just one of those days. I will take your phone calls here in just a moment, but before I do, I want to put on your radar a story. Those of you listening up in Tennessee. So I've been warning you about it. Some people call it the woke right. I would say the progressive right. You know what the progressives want? progressives want to use the government to control your lives. They want power, and they do not want the other side to have power. And then when they get power, they want to punish their enemies and reward their friends and use the government to implement their agenda. It's no longer about you and your choices. It's about the choices they make for you, and they exist on the left and the right. And yes, they do exist on the right. They're smaller in number, but progressives exist on the right. And oftentimes lately, they've been masking themselves behind the idea of Christian nationalism. I'm a Christian, I'm a nationalist. But in terms of the phrase that they mean using the government as a cudgel to force people to worship certain ways and behave certain ways and claim it's in the name of advancing Christianity in the United States. And it's not between you and Jesus, it's the government forcing Jesus upon you, whether you want him or not. And every time a group of sinners tries to force Jesus on other people, it ends badly. In Tennessee, the state legislature is advancing school choice. And the school choice legislation in Tennessee would be one of the most robust in the nation. Parents would be allowed to send their children to a school of their choice, including religious schools, including Christian schools. And the state would transmit money to the parents to cover the cost. That's standard school choice. But there is a problem. The most conservative members of the state legislature have decided to try to kill school choice in Tennessee. Any idea why? Can you guess why? Why would the hard right in Tennessee suddenly decide to oppose school choice after decades of conservatives supporting school choice? Why would the hard right in Tennessee decide to kill school choice? Because in Tennessee, there are less than a half dozen Islamic private schools. And under the Constitution of the United States of America, Tennessee cannot prohibit parents from sending their children to the Islamic-oriented school unless they prohibit them from sending them to all religious schools. And a lot of parents in Tennessee want to send their kids to a Christian private school, but there are like 5 Islamic schools in Tennessee. And so the hard right in the Tennessee legislature is trying to kill school choice because they don't want anyone to be subsidized by the state to go to the handful of Islamic schools. What if they learn Sharia? So in Tennessee, if the hard right, the progressive right wins, they're going to deny school choice to everyone because a handful of Muslim families might want to send their kids to a Muslim school, just as you want to send your kid to a Christian school. They would rather deprive everyone of good schools because they're progressives. They want to use the government. This is the way they talk. That instead, we will pass laws to impose the Ten Commandments, put the Ten Commandments on walls of public schools and get back to prayer in public school. Never mind, they're not going to be able to because the Supreme Court precedent, they've convinced themselves that in Tennessee, they will just turn the public schools into instruments of Christian nationalism. And they can avoid the Islamic education and still give kids a Christian education by imposing it on the public schools. And you know, the blue-haired former barista who's teaching your kids about trans issues now is really going to teach them about the authentic Jesus. That's going to work for sure, isn't it? The progressive right is as bad as the progressive left, wanting to use government as a cudgel against their opponents and live your life for you in ways they deem best instead of you living your life for you and making your family's decisions. They don't believe in the arm's-length transaction of the invisible hand of the market. They decide that they're going to dictate it for you. And because some of you may choose to send your kid to the wrong private school, in Tennessee, the progressive right is trying to sabotage school choice. I never thought I would live to see the moment where people on the right would kill school choice. Time and time again in Nashville and in Memphis and in other parts of Tennessee, we get the TikTok videos of the teachers with the trans flags in the classrooms saying how subversive they are. And the progressive right in Tennessee would rather those people continue to teach your kids than the handful of kids who might go to the Muslim school. Because they might learn Sharia. I don't know who Sharia is. Maybe she's nice. They might learn jihad. You know what? They could learn that on Saturdays at the mosque still. Do you have evidence of it? No. We can't let these kids learn about Muhammad. They're already learning about Muhammad because the Muslim families are having to overcompensate because they live in Tennessee, where on every corner there's the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh Baptist Church, each of which came from the other when they had a congregational meeting and got in a fight. And then you got the Presbyterians and the Methodists down the street. You got the United Methodists and the PCUSA and the Episcopalians who are teaching the kids about the drag queens. God forbid they have a school, can't let them go there. But I notice that the progressive right in Tennessee is not worked up about the Episcopalian school that's bringing in the drag queen story hour person. They're worried about they might learn Sharia and jihad at the Muslim school. There are 5 of them. There are many more Episcopalian progressive schools in Tennessee where parents could opt out of public education and their kids. They're not worried about any one of those. They would scuttle the whole thing because they would rather convince themselves they could teach the drag queen at the local elementary school to teach you about Jesus through the reading of the 10 Commandments and prayer. And they would rather you subject your child to that in the public school, then possibly you send your child to a good Christian school where your neighbor sends their kid to the Muslim school. This is the progressive right at work. And I get this all the time, even here in Georgia where I am with the advance of school choice, where you get progressives who twist little facts into the ears of some of the moms, the essential oil moms from the traditional conservative school of, if you do this, the state will have the power to regulate your kid's school. Literally, I know a lady, and this woman is very, very devoutly Christian, very big into the homeschool community, very big into the essential oil community. And she told me that she opposed the expansion of school choice in Georgia because one day the Democrats could get elected to the governor's mansion one day, and then they could pass regulations on her private school if they took the money. And I said, 1, yes. 2, you don't have to take the money. 3, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Better get it established now so when that time comes, it's so well established they don't even think to do it. But no, because one day in the future, a Democrat might get elected who then might later decide to pass regulations that the private schools that take the school choice money could get. We can't do it today and get it locked in to build up the will and the program to stop that from happening. No, we can't have nice things because of these people. Come on, y'all. I got a lot of listeners in Tennessee. Y'all need to get school choice done. The president has endorsed the program. You should not let the fear of a handful of Muslim schools stop you from giving all the other kids a great education. This is just what the public teachers unions do, and what the opponents of school choice does is, oh my gosh, you might have some kids get an unfair advantage going somewhere else. We got to keep them all in the public school. And now the progressive right is like, oh my gosh, we might get 5 kids that go to an Islamic school, and we can't have that. Screw all the kids because of these 5 kids. Except not in that way. I'm not talking about Michael Jackson. We just, no. You know what I mean. They're going to ruin every child's education because of the fear of a handful of kids. That's what progressives do. On the left and the right, it's what progressives do. They have decided that they know best for you and your family, and you will be stuck in public control. And you've got the progressive left and the progressive right who are going to fight over how much Jesus or drag queen you get in your public school, as opposed to just letting parents decide for themselves where best to send their kids. This is why we can't have nice things. Now, to the phones we go, 877-973-7425. Robert, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show.
Oh, well, thank you very much for taking my call. I have a question. I wanted to tap into your knowledge. Under what legal authority would OPM and the agencies have to terminate and remove employees without cause and just because of a furlough?
That's a great question. Because of right now, you have a federal budget that divides itself between mandatory spending and discretionary spending. And not a single program of the federal government that is classified as discretionary spending currently is budgeted. So there's no money in the program. And because there's no money in the program is unfunded. And the president, under federal law, has the ability to expire any program for which Congress has not budgeted funds.
So what happens when it's funded?
That's what the president is telling the Democrats. If there's no money there, I get to fire these people, so you better hurry up and open the government and put the money back.
All right. Well,
yeah,
thank you for the explanation.
Yeah, Robert, and for those of you who don't understand this, what we're dealing with in the federal government right now is that there's no money. That's why the government is shut down, because the budget has not passed. The continuing resolution has not passed. The continuing resolution, in lieu of passing a budget, what the continuing resolution does is it says we're going to take the last budget we passed and we're just going to keep spending that budget. The last budget they passed was during the Obama administration. So we've been working off, actually, no, I take that back. The first year of the Biden administration, they passed a budget. So we're working off the Joe Biden budget from the COVID era. And they've just been kicking the can down the road instead of doing a new budget. Both sides just funding the old budget. But when you get to the fiscal year in September 30th, and so if you haven't funded the government for the next fiscal year, all of the discretionary programs are technically expired under federal law. And the president has the discretion under federal law to shut down agencies that are empty of money. All of them are right now. And so under federal law, the president gets to pick and choose which programs he's going to shut down. And if he shuts them down, those people are not laid off, they're fired. And then what happens if you get money next week? Well, the money flows back into the program and there's nobody there to manage the money. And so then what happens is the president says, well, we're hiring. And because those people were fired, you don't have to go hire those people back. You can hire brand new people. Totally permissible under federal law. Now, I got to tell you about Hillsdale College. They would love for you to take one of their mini free classes. They have 40 to choose from. They've got a great one right now on capitalism. I think everybody needs a refresher on capitalism. It's a series of 30-minute videos with Hillsdale's faculty walking you through the education on what capitalism is. They have one on the Federalist Papers. They've got one on the Constitutional Convention. They've got one on the rise and fall of the Roman Republic. They've got one on C.S. Lewis, one on Shakespeare, one on the theology and literature of Genesis. They've got 40 to choose from economics, chemistry, and math to political science, philosophy, history, and literature. You just go to Eric, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com today. You sign up for Hillsdale College's classes. You get the video lectures. You do it at your own pace. You get a certificate of completion when you're done, and you never pay a penny. And you see what sets Hillsdale College apart with these great lectures from their finest faculty. It's education. It's not indoctrination. It's a great, great opportunity for you to get to know Hillsdale College and also find a topic you're interested in and get smarter about it. ericforhillsdale.com. What I'm shocked, I tell you, that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has just approved an abortion pill. Another one, a generic abortion pill just approved by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the FDA. Shocked, I tell you. It is my humble opinion that we have a Health and Human Services Secretary who has probably paid for more abortions than all other cabinet secretaries in all of American history combined. And we're shocked that guy has approved a new abortion bill. I told you guys. Nobody wanted to listen to me. That this would not have happened if we had a good, competent, conservative Secretary of Health and Human Services. But oh my gosh, he took the red dye out of your M&Ms. So God bless him. Yep. Oh, wow. Yep. Hey, no more red dye, and they're going to put cane sugar back in Coke, and Steak and Shake has gone to lard. Yeah! And beef tallow. So y'all love him. I tell you, Maha really is faith-based healing for hippies. It is if you'll just eat the beef tallow and you'll get your 5,000 steps and put sunshine on your male parts, You'll develop natural testosterone and you'll be healthy, and your mitochondria will channel the midichlorian and get rid of the Sith spirit within you, and we'll all be healthy. We'll give you abortion pills for when that testosterone amps up so much that you impregnate the secretary and cheat on your wife and get her to commit suicide like Robert F. Kennedy pushed his wife over the edge, and she did. I have nothing nice to say about the man. I think I said something nice about him 2 weeks ago, and I repressed it. Oh, I know what it was. The curious case of autism. I actually do think it's actually good that we are investigating where autism comes from, although we're pretty clear that it actually isn't Tylenol itself that is causing it. But, I mean, how can we be surprised that Robert F. Kennedy is overseeing an entity that has decided to approve a new abortion pill after saying that would never happen in his testimony, Senate testimony? He said that would never, ever happen on his watch, and his hand-picked group has just done it. Surprise, surprise. I'll move on. Honestly, y'all, seriously, I eat healthy, get 10,000 steps a day. I got weight to lose. I admit it. But Maha is faith-based healing. It is a works-based religion. If you do these things, you will find your salvation, as opposed to just believe in Jesus. You gotta eat the beef tallow, avoid the seed oil, get the red dye out of everything. Maybe drink some hydrogen peroxide to kill the cancer. That was one of the advices a Maha acolyte gave me to give to my wife, was drink hydrogen peroxide. And you never know what'll happen. Just do these things and live, as opposed to trust this guy and live. All right. I'm sorry that gets on my little hobby horse. I apologize. When we come back, we need to talk about Ukraine. But first, I got to tell you about the secret war on cash, brought to you by Swiss America. The government, I saw it again today. It was another business that had a little label on the bottom of their ordering menu that said no cash accepted. And by the way, you're also going to pay the 3.5% credit card fee. The government wants you to use credit and debit cards. They don't want you to use cash because it is harder and harder for them to track cash purchases. This, by the way, this goes for digital currency as well. The government does not like not knowing what you're buying and how you're spending your money. It's a secret war on cash. Swiss America wants to give you their report, The Secret War on Cash, completely for free. All you have to do is call or text them, my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646. All that war on cash does include cryptocurrency. Get the report completely free. Takes less than 15 minutes to read. It can save on your assets. 800-289-2646. Just text my name, Eric, or call them and say Eric sent me. 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric if you're like me and hate talking to people. SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. You'll get the link there and all the information. SwissAmerica.com/Eric or 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply.